Welcome back to Nerd Stitcher, everyone. I was not able to get my webcam working this week for some reason, but I still wanted to record a video and post it to get the algorithm happy. Uh, this week, I went to go see Dune Part 2 in the theater. So I'm going to give you my little review. For people who want to avoid spoilers, I will say that overall it was pretty good. It definitely seems like they're trying to set up the next movie. Whether or not they'll get it, I don't know. But I feel like there was probably some studio involvement. I know that the 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 gender swap of Dr. Kynes in the first movie was because of studio involvement. Apparently, that was a mandate, and I suspect that there was some meddling in this movie as well. Now, I'll continue now with spoilers. So, if you don't want to hear spoilers, check back next week, see what I'm up to. Um, I didn't make a whole lot of progress on the project this week just because I've been dealing with some dry skin and didn't feel like working on it too much. But I'm thinking that should be improving here soon, so I should be getting back into it. Okay, spoilers. So overall, the movie's really good. Um, I was totally fine with all the Harkonnen stuff. Um, it was interesting to me that they didn't have her give birth to Alia, and I honestly don't recall whether that was just in the David Lynch movie or if that was in the book as well. I did read the books, but it's been a little while. But I think they handled it well. And actually, in this movie, you get a little bit more of some of the like characters talking to themselves type stuff that you had in the David Lynch film, which I think really just goes to show that, David Lynch wasn't totally crazy when he did that. That because, you have to understand what the characters are thinking at times. And if like it's kind of hard to show everything in the Dune world if you aren't like familiar with the books. So, occasionally, it helps to have not. I mean, in this, they kind of made it seem like telepathic communication at times with the Reverend Mothers and stuff, but to me, it was like they were kind of heading in the direction of what David Lynch had done with the voiceover dialogue of characters' thoughts, which honestly I didn't really mind too much in the David Lynch movie. Anyway, so overall, I think the movie was pretty good. Um, I think that the the ending really drove me crazy because Chani's character. I mean, in the book, she's kind of a nothing character. I don't want to say that, but I mean, really, like, other than her being Paul's love interest and concubine, like, I don't recall really her playing that big of a role. But obviously, the studio I think wanted to give Zendaya more to do, and I really feel like they could have gotten away with it if at the point where she brings Paul like back awake from after drinking the water of life. If at that moment she got on board with everything, and the other thing is, it's not her fault, but if Paul had clued her in on his plan to marry Ireland, which, as I recall, he did, like in the book and in the David Lynch film, like she was totally clued in on what his plan was. Like she knew that, she'd still be his love interest, she'd still be the one he goes to bed with at night, but on paper he'd be married to Ireland, and he'd have to bang her at least, once to make her give birth to an heir. Because it's basically Game of Thrones in space, so you got to deal with all that medieval bloodline type stuff. But in the new movie, he kind of springs that on her, like he does right before he does it, like tell her, I'll always love you, and he hints that, oh yeah, she'll get over this, like because he's got his dreams of the future now that he's drinking the water of life, but you know, she really should be part of the plan, like clued in on everything. Because he did tell her about why he was avoiding going south. He told her about his dreams about that. So really, he should have told her, like, look, like, this is what I'm seeing. Eventually, I'm gonna have to marry the empress, the princess, and rule the galaxy. So what I thought was stupid about the ending was that she has an emotional response to that, even though the whole movie she's like, "Oh, I am a warrior. I'm a warrior. I'm a Fedayeen." But Fedayeen, they're warriors. They don't have the luxury of emotional responses. They can't cry over the dead. They can't like throw up at the sight of like gore. They have to be able to contain themselves. And so her having an emotional outburst that she does, I felt was out of character and totally went contrary to everything she was claiming, which, is pretty typical for the feminist movement. Anytime you have a strong, independent woman, she doesn't act strong or independent. But, so she storms off, and the rest of her people are going off into space for the jihad. And it's like, what are you doing, lady? Like, you're going to just go off and live in the desert by yourself? Like, I mean, sure, she's a Fremen. Like, she'll probably survive. She'll be fine, I guess. But I don't know. It just seemed like such a stupid thing for her to do. Like I don't know. The only way they might redeem it is like if the next movie they have her like go pout for like half a minute on some rock and then come back. But at the moment, it. So basically, okay. So I also wanted to mention, I finished season 2 of Carnival Row. Now spoilers for that too here, because I gotta mention. So Carnival Row, season 2, they have the wife of the Puck. I don't remember any characters' names. I'm terrible with names. But the blonde girl who married the Puck, she kind of gets influenced by the communist leader in the Rising Dawn, and she starts to get all uppity with her husband, saying stuff like, "Oh, you're trying to control me," and blah blah blah. All the normal feminist propaganda stuff about their relationships with men. And I mean, that really turned me off to her character. Like, I was just like, oh my god, like, is this the direction she's gonna go? But the last episode of that season, well, first of all, the communists take her husband's horn off. So that, like, she reacted to, and realized she was being a twat. And so the ending episode, like, she apologizes to him. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like totally stupid. I love you. I know you're not trying to control me. And so, she came to her senses. And I appreciated that. So I really enjoyed the ending of Carnival Row season 2. Whereas this with Dune, this is supposed to be the end of the first book, and they left Chinese character in a spot where I don't get that same closure. So like, it's so weird because like in Dune Part 2, I was enjoying the movie right up until the end, and then in the end, I'm left with this feeling like, oh my god, like what are they doing? Whereas Carnival Row season 2, here and there throughout the episodes, throughout the season, I'm like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? But then at the end, I'm like, oh, whew, okay. So it's like the opposite roller coaster. And honestly, I was more satisfied with Carnival Row season 2 having that satisfactory ending than I was with Dune Part 2. Now, again, it's quite possible if they get a third movie that that's all going to get resolved real quick. She's going to come to her senses too and have that same kind of, you know, character arc. And even Paul's hinted, that, yeah, this will not be a long-term thing. She's going to come to her senses. She'll realize why I did all this. And he said that, so, you know, the seeds are there. But it's just, yeah, the feeling it leaves you with at the theater. And it's like, it's just like a gut punch, you know, where it's like, especially when somebody like me has read the books and knows it's not how it's supposed to go. Like that was just added drama for the women in the audience probably, or something. I don't know. Because really, I mean, Paul's personal life is not really in the book. Like they mentioned Johnny's his concubine, but there's like no like love scenes. There's no like it's just not a big part of the book. The book is more about the overall galactic politics and Paul's grappling with the prophetic parts of his life, like, you know, being a part of a prophecy and, you know, dealing with the bloodshed that he has to cause in order to bring peace to the Fremen and freedom to the Fremen. So, yeah, it's an interesting juxtaposition because they both had those female characters that, you know, start off supposedly in love with a man, and then they reach this moment where, you know, they don't understand the you know the reasoning behind what the man does and says, and in one Carnival Row they resolve it, and it's like, okay, and that's a good character arc, and I really enjoyed it. And you know, it made sense. Like, you know, women, that happens from time to time, where, you know, they get emotional and they say things that aren't true, and it's, you know, it's just facts of life. But a good woman will come around and will recognize, like, oh, I was being dumb. I shouldn't have said these things, and she'll apologize. And so, yeah, I like her again. She's a good woman. And you know, he handled it like a pro too. That guy, like, you know, he didn't push her. He wasn't trying to be bossy. He was always, you know, being eloquent. And but as soon as she was willing to come back and apologize, he was there for her and was ready to get back on board and like say, all right, let's do this. So, you know, I really enjoyed that writing. And there's hints that June will do the same thing, but it's just the ending where they end it on her storming off, and it's like, that's just such a terrible end point for this character. Like, you should have had a scene like that where he told her the plan earlier in the movie, where he's like, listen, I love you, but I have to give Ireland my hand and marry her and give her, like, produce an heir with her. And, like, that's part of my visions. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it for the sake of the Fremen. And at that point, you have her storm off and have an emotional response. Talk to her friend about it, like, oh my God, can you believe this? and then maybe she has a conversation with Stilgar or something. I don't know. They could have worked it into the story where that happened earlier, and she still got to have that moment that they wanted her to have about how can a man do this, you know? But to put it right at the end of the movie, I feel it just did their movie a disservice because it doesn't leave you feeling good at the end. And you know, it's not like every movie has to have a happy ending or anything, but it's just I don't know. I just didn't think it was handled to the best of their ability. I think it could have been handled better. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was some studio executive that was like, you know, I read your script and I just feel like Chani doesn't have enough. And like, would she really be okay with Paul marrying the princess? I could totally see some female studio executive putting her oar in like that. And, well, you know, everybody, yeah, I basically agree with what all the other reviews I heard were from people that read the books. Is like, you know, yeah, it looks great, but it's kind of ruined it for me. And I don't know, unless there's a part three that I get to see that continues with Messiah, and you know, we get to see her not be a total twat anymore. Yeah, it might ruin that movie, and I might not want to watch it again just because I know the ending's so stupid. And now, listen, if you're a woman and you're listening to this and you're like, what is this guy on about? You know, hopefully you're a woman that is more in touch with yourself and know that I'm just trying to speak some truth here. I was married 7 years to a woman that is more psychotic than most, but way less psychotic than some. So in that sense, I was lucky. But you know, I've been in relationships, and unfortunately, women don't always communicate directly about what they're actually feeling things about, and they will instead like place their feelings, you know, if it's anger or something, on other people. And sure, men can do that too, but I think for the most part, a man will tend to be more direct. I try to be more assertive anyway with what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it. Well, anyway, that's my Dune Part 2 review. Hopefully, I'll get some more work done on the project this week. Figure out this webcam issue. Might have to update OBS or something. And I'll check back with you guys later. Alright, have a good one.